Not every dangerous person carries a weapon. Some carry charm. Some carry good looks. Some carry promises. And sometimes the most dangerous person you could ever marry is someone who seemed perfect in the beginning, someone who said all the right things, someone who showed up at exactly the right moment in your life, when you were ready, when your heart was open, when everything about them felt like an answer to a question you had been carrying for years. The truth is this: many people do not discover the danger in their relationship until after the wedding. Not during the dating season, when everything is exciting and new and both people are showing their best selves. Not during the engagement, when the planning and the celebration and the attention make everything feel like a dream. But after, when the excitement settles, when real life begins, when the habits, the attitudes, and the character that were carefully concealed during the early stages of a relationship suddenly have nowhere left to hide. Marriage has a way of doing that. It reveals what dating can easily conceal, because dating is a performance stage. People dress for it. They prepare for it. They manage the impression they make on it. But marriage is not a stage. Marriage is the backstage. It is where you see what someone is actually made of when nobody is watching, when the pressure is on, when the resources are low, and when the romance of the beginning has given way to the weight of the ordinary. And tonight we are going to talk about the most dangerous person to marry, not in a way designed to create fear, but in a way designed to create clarity. Because recognizing these patterns early, before the vows, before the ceremony, before the life is fully intertwined, can genuinely change the course of your future. Stay with me. This matters more than you may realize. Let us begin where every conversation about relationships must begin, and that is with character. Because when most people think about what makes someone dangerous as a partner, they think about obvious things. They think about violence, they think about addiction, they think about criminal behavior, and yes, those things are dangerous. But the most dangerous partner is not always someone who has crossed a visible line. Sometimes the most dangerous partner is someone who has never crossed a visible line at all, and yet whose character, if examined honestly, reveals the seeds of everything that will eventually destroy the relationship. Character is not what someone does when they're being watched. Character is what someone does when no one is looking. It is the pattern of choices they make in small, seemingly insignificant moments that accumulate over time into the person they actually are. How they handle anger when they are frustrated. How they treat people who serve them, people who cannot advance them, people who cannot benefit them in any way. How they respond when things go wrong and the easy path is to blame someone else. How they behave when they are disappointed, when they do not get their way, when life does not cooperate with their expectations. These small moments are not small. They are previews. They are the trailer for the full film of who this person is. And the tragedy of many broken marriages is not that the signs were absent. It is that the signs were present, were visible, were pointing clearly in a direction, and the person who needed to see them had already decided not to look. A person with weak character may still appear deeply attractive. They may be persuasive. They may be social and magnetic and wonderful to spend time with in the good seasons. But character is not tested in the good seasons. Character is tested in the difficult ones. And marriage is full of difficult seasons. One of the most dangerous traits a person can carry into a marriage is the consistent refusal to accept personal responsibility. Pay attention to this one carefully, because it is easier to miss than most people realize. This is not someone who is obviously reckless or irresponsible in ways you can easily see. This is someone who, pattern by pattern, conversation by conversation, always finds a way to locate the cause of every problem somewhere outside of themselves. When something goes wrong at work, it is always the manager's fault. When a friendship breaks down, it is always the other person's fault. When a financial decision does not work out, it is always circumstances, bad timing, the economy, anything except their own choices. When there is conflict between the two of you, it is always something you did, something you said, the way you said it, the tone you used, something, anything. But never them. This pattern, if you observe it honestly before marriage, tells you something critical about what your life will look like inside that marriage. Because marriage is not a conflict-free environment. No marriage is. Problems arise. Misunderstandings happen. Financial pressures come. Parenting disagreements emerge. Health challenges appear. And in every single one of those moments, a healthy marriage requires two people who can look at a situation honestly and ask, what is my part in this? What could I have done differently? What do I need to own here? A person who cannot do that will make every difficult season longer, more painful, and more damaging than it needs to be. Because nothing can be resolved when one party refuses to acknowledge their role in creating it. You cannot fix what you will not face. And you cannot face what you are always attributing to someone else. Marry someone who can say, I was wrong. Those three words are worth more in a marriage than almost any other quality. Closely related to this is the question of anger. Anger itself is not dangerous. Every human being experiences anger. It is a natural, legitimate emotion that arises when something important to us is threatened or violated. The question is never whether a person feels anger. The question is what they do with it. A person who cannot regulate their anger, who escalates quickly, who raises their voice in ways designed to intimidate, who says things in moments of fury that they cannot take back, who creates an atmosphere in the home where those around them are always slightly on edge, always slightly afraid of saying the wrong thing, always measuring their words to avoid triggering an explosion. That person is one of the most genuinely dangerous partners you can choose. And here is what makes this particularly difficult to recognize early. In the beginning of a relationship, most people do not show you their unregulated anger. The early season is too careful for that. But there are precursors. There are smaller versions of the pattern that appear if you are watching. A reaction that seems disproportionate to the situation. A flash of something in the eyes when things do not go their way. A coldness that descends with surprising speed. A way they speak about people who have wronged them that reveals how they process frustration inside. These are not definitive proofs. They are signals. And wisdom does not require proof before it pays attention to signals. It simply observes, files the information, and continues watching. Because uncontrolled anger inside a marriage does not only destroy the relationship between the two partners, it creates an environment that shapes children, that damages emotional health, that makes the home a place of tension rather than rest. And the person living inside that environment year after year pays a cost that can take a very long time to recover from. There is something else that deserves its own conversation, and it is respect. Respect is not a romantic word. It does not appear in love songs the way passion does. It does not get celebrated the way attraction does. But it is one of the most load-bearing qualities in a lasting marriage. Without it, everything else eventually crumbles. A partner who does not respect you will show you that in consistent, patterned ways. They will criticize you, not the kind of honest feedback that helps you grow, but the kind of chronic, undermining criticism that is designed, consciously or not, to make you feel small. They will belittle your opinions in front of others. They will dismiss things that matter deeply to you as unimportant. They will make decisions that affect both of you without consulting you, not because they forgot, but because your input does not register to them as necessary. The dangerous thing about a partner who lacks respect is that the damage happens gradually. In the early stages, it might appear simply as confidence, even as strength. A person who is decisive, who has strong opinions, who does not yield easily, these can seem like attractive qualities at first. But there is a difference between strength and contempt. There is a difference between confidence and dismissiveness. And over time, in the context of a marriage, that difference becomes everything. A person who respects you will disagree with you sometimes. They will challenge you sometimes. They will hold their ground sometimes. But they will do it in a way that honors your dignity. They will do it in a way that communicates that even in disagreement, you are valued, that your perspective matters, that you are a partner, not a subordinate. A person who does not respect you will never quite allow you to forget your place in their hierarchy. And that weight, carried daily over years, is an extraordinary burden. Honesty deserves to be spoken about directly because it is one of the qualities most easily rationalized away before marriage. Many people who end up in relationships with dishonest partners were not blind to the dishonesty. They saw small moments of deception, a story that did not quite add up, an explanation that changed slightly when revisited, an omission that felt strategic rather than accidental. But they rationalized it. They said it was not a big deal. They said everyone shades the truth sometimes. They said they would address it later. Later never came. Because a person who is comfortable with dishonesty in the small things before marriage will carry that comfort into the larger things after it. Patterns do not reverse themselves simply because a ceremony has taken place. If anything, marriage with its closer proximity, its higher stakes, and its inevitable pressure tends to intensify existing patterns rather than dissolve them. Trust is the infrastructure of a marriage. It is the invisible system that allows everything else to function. And once that infrastructure is compromised, once there is consistent reason to doubt what you are being told, the effort required to maintain the relationship becomes exhausting in a way that very few people are prepared for. You start measuring everything against what might be true. You start watching for inconsistencies. You lose the ability to simply rest in the relationship because resting requires safety, and safety requires trust, and trust requires a foundation that has never been built. Choose a partner whose honesty is not convenient. Choose someone who tells you the truth when the truth is uncomfortable for them. That quality, more than almost any other, will determine whether trust in your marriage remains intact. One more pattern deserves attention before we move toward closing, and it is the pattern of refusing to grow. Every healthy marriage changes over time. The people in it change. The circumstances change. Children come. Finances shift. health changes. The world around you changes. And a marriage that is going to survive and thrive across those decades requires two people who are committed to growing personally, emotionally, relationally, spiritually. The most dangerous partner in this regard is not someone who does not know everything. None of us know everything. The dangerous partner is someone who is closed, someone who resists learning, who responds to feedback with defensiveness rather than reflection, who interprets every suggestion for growth as an attack, who has decided, consciously or unconsciously, that they have already arrived and no further development is necessary. This person will struggle enormously when challenges require adaptation. They will struggle when relationships require compromise. They will struggle when the marriage itself asks them to become something more than what they currently are. Because growth requires humility, and humility requires the willingness to acknowledge that you are not yet complete. A person who cannot acknowledge that will fight every invitation to grow as though their very identity depends on remaining unchanged. And you cannot build a future with someone who refuses to move. So why do so many people ignore these patterns? Why do warning signs get seen and still get dismissed? Because love creates a particular kind of hope. A sincere, generous, sometimes beautiful hope that the person you care about will become the best version of themselves through the power of what you share together. And that hope is not entirely wrong. People do grow inside of loving relationships. But there is a critical distinction between someone who is growing and someone who is pretending they do not need to. Between someone who has patterns they are working through and someone who has patterns they have never once questioned. The people who ignore warning signs are not foolish. They are human. They are emotionally invested. They want things to work out. They have imagined a future. They have told their family and their friends. They have allowed themselves to need this person. And in that state, the mind is remarkably creative at generating reasons why the concerning thing you just witnessed does not mean what it appears to mean. But wisdom is not the absence of feeling. Wisdom is the discipline to allow what you observe to inform what you decide, even when what you observe is inconvenient to what you want. And the person who can hold both their feelings and their discernment at the same time, who can love genuinely while still watching clearly, that person gives themselves the best possible chance of choosing well. The most dangerous person to marry is not always obvious. They may appear confident. They may be charming in ways that make rooms light up. They may have achieved things that signal stability and capability. They may speak about love and commitment in ways that sound exactly right. All of that may be true, and the danger may still be present underneath it. Because the true measure of a partner is not what they show in the best moments. It is what they reveal in the difficult ones. The measure is found in how they handle their anger, in whether they accept responsibility, in how they treat you when you cannot give them what they want, in whether they tell you the truth when lying would be easier, in whether they are willing to grow when growth is required. Character determines how a person will show up when life becomes hard. And marriage, beautiful, meaningful, significant as it is, will inevitably bring hard moments. That is not a pessimistic statement. That is an honest one. And the person who walks into it with clear eyes, who has chosen a partner not on the basis of how they feel in the best moments, but on what they have consistently observed across real time and real circumstances, that person is not guaranteed a perfect marriage. No one can promise that. But they have laid a foundation strong enough to hold one. Because the right marriage is not built on attraction alone. It is built on character, on respect, on honesty, on the shared willingness to grow. And those things, chosen wisely, create something that lasts. If something in this conversation made you think differently about the relationship you are in or the one you are looking for, come back tomorrow. Every day on this channel, we go deeper into the decisions that shape your life. Subscribe, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below telling me which part hit you the hardest. See you tomorrow.